rise for a salute to the flag, followed by a moment of silence for men and women serving in our military and our victims of COVID-19.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law have been satisfied concerning this meeting. The annual notice schedule was published in the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger on December the 18th, 2020. A copy of the schedule was posted on the municipal bulletin board. It should be so noted in the minutes of this meeting. Councilman Spiller.
Here.
Councilman Vaquera. Councilwoman Meehan.
Here.
Councilwoman Drum. Councilman Patel. Councilman Anderson.
Here.
Councilwoman De Jesus.
Here.
Council Vice President Bauer.
Here.
Council President Small.
Here.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes from the prior meeting of April the 6th?
Motion.
Second. I'll do a second reading ordinances. Letter A is bond ordinance to appropriate an additional sum of $290,000 for a parking lot for the Barron Arts Center. Have a motion that the ordinance be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be opened.
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is now open. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is now closed. The ordinance is adopted and will be submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law. Ordinance B, amending Chapter 150 Land Use and Development. Chapter 150-82.1 B, definitions be amended to read County Review Agency. Can I have a motion that the ordinance be taken up in second and third reading and the public hearing open?
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is now open. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is now closed. The ordinance is adopted and will be submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law. Ordinance C. I have a motion that the ordinance be abandoned.
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance is abandoned. Ordinance E, long-term tax exempt and execution of a financial agreement with Mazda Urban Renewal LLC and also with 101 Ross Street Urban Renewal Entity LLC. I have a motion that the ordinance be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be opened.
Motion.
Second. As for any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is now open.
Hello, Mr. President. Ken Gardner, 101 Stover Avenue, Woodbridge. First, letter E. This is the Vito Mazda building or parking lot or both? Question?
Mr. Gardner, I apologize. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. Ordinance E, the property that is looking for a tax exemption, is it Vito Mazza's property? Is it the building, the parking lot, both, more than that? What is the property that we're talking about here?
The Vito Mazza property.
So it's the building and the parking lot?
Mr. Samaluka?
I'm not completely sure of the total delineation of the building, but it is portions of the parking lot.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I don't have the size of the building in front of me, but it does encompass a portion of the parking lot.
So it's his entire building and a portion of the parking lot, you're saying?
I don't know if it's the entire building, but it is most of the area. I don't have the plan in front of me.
Okay. Mr. President, this is the public meeting as required by law. We're supposed to be able to ask about the ordinance. And, I don't want to put it all on you, Mr. President, and I don't want to put it all on the administrator. The planner is here as well, but somebody has got to know what is being voted on.
Mr. President,
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Darden's here. She could probably answer it more
Yep.
clearly.
Ms. Darden?
Well, thanks, and I will, and just because we're not talking, it's the exact confines of the property, and the property includes Vito Mazza and a portion of the parking lot. So the reason why you were given that answer is because as it sits there, it's not the entirety of the parking lot that's there. But yes, it is his parking lot, and yes, it is his building, and his building doesn't just include the use of Vito Mazza. So that's probably why you were given the answer, the way the question was answered, because it's not suffice to say that yes, it's Vito Mazza, which it is, and yes, it's his parking lot, but not all his parking lot, which is why you were told a portion. So, and I'm just going to say, I don't necessarily believe that this is a tax exemption ordinance, so that is a financial agreement, and that is what is being voted on tonight. The property itself and the confines of that are not being voted on. Yes, it has a description in the document, but that is not what's being voted on. Thank you.
Okay, and what is proposed here? Are we talking about another 5 or 7 story apartment building where Vito Mazza's property is?
Mr. Gardner?
I'm sorry? Mr. President, forgive me, I don't mean to be rude to you in any way, but when there are, and I hope I haven't been rude to anybody, but when there are repeat questions on the same subject, I can appreciate that I have to go through you, but I would ask for just a little bit of leniency to not waste my whole 5 minutes going through you, to go through Vito, to go back to Mrs. Darden.
Mr.
Ms.
Samaluka?
Darden, you can answer the question. Please.
Okay, so, again, this is a financial agreement. It is not the plan of the area, which was previously adopted, because it is a redevelopment area, which is the only way we could be considering the tax authorizing execution of that financial agreement. The only way that can be done, that is one of the tools of being a designated redevelopment area. So this area was previously studied and designated a redevelopment area. It was also previously part of an adopted redevelopment plan, and the permitted uses are consistent with every other study, every other plan that we've done for the downtown over the past 10 years. As a matter of fact, this started 10 years ago with the also study and designation of the transit village plan for the downtown. And as I indicated to you at our last meeting, these sections of town have been studied probably more than the rest of the town put together. We have actively engaged with neighbors and property owners and stakeholders in the downtown to study and plan a cohesive and cohesive plan for the downtown. So that would be when we were considering uses. What I can tell you is, this is homogeneous, as with much of the rest of the downtown transit village plan, and also all the other plans that you have seen for comment, which is there are multiple permitted uses. It's retail, it's residential, it's consistent with all the studies and meetings and plans we've been through in the last 10 years. It's also consistent with what every other downtown that has a train station in it has done for more than 10 years. Actually, when we started doing it, it wasn't new. So as I indicated to you, yes, those are the uses consistent with the other plans. It is a tool, as is the financial agreement, to attract development to a downtown, which we did not invent. That was, those were tools used and adopted by towns throughout the state that had a train station, actually many up and down this northeast corridor line, or actually the coastline, and many along the corridor. So we are doing everything that we can and have been in the process of doing for the last decade to ensure the economic viability of our historic downtown for the next 100 years, for the residents, for the property owners, for the business owners, and for everyone who actively works and lives here.
Council President,
Yes.
moreover, Mr. Gardner, this ordinance is about a financial agreement and not about the plan. If you want to see the plan, as you know, we carry all the plans online. You can find those. I mean, we do a lot of operations in town. I don't remember every plan, so it would be best, I have to go back and refresh my own memory. So they're available for you. And this is about a financial plan. The ordinance is about finance.
Sure. Well, that's the importance of having the directors here to help you, and Mrs. Gardner certainly gave a long answer to me, but
Mr. Gardner?
what I was asking was...
Mr. Gardner, I'm sorry, but your time is up.
But she didn't answer how many stories are going to be there. And if the council is going to vote to give somebody a tax break, they're giving it to them for a reason.
Mr.
And
Gardner?
The public should be aware of that.
Mr. Gardner, your time is up. Thank you.
Woodbridge, Mr. Chairman. Well, this is nothing what I read in the newspaper yesterday. I will be here tonight, the day of meeting on the 6th of April. It's two different properties, two different buildings, and you have to refresh your memories. Widow Martha supposed to build 80 units, 4,000 square feet, retail space, and then have 4 to 5 employees, steady employees after that. On the Rose Street parking lot, which is a township parking lot, there's two parking lots. Widow Martha is supposed to have 40 parking spaces for 80 units and 4 stores and 4,000 square feet. And of course, municipal parking lot that's owned by the town now should be multi-level parking lot for 90 cars, which we share by all the local businesses which they put together. Again, talk about financial, you talk about the 35 years tax abatement, which is something new. I grew up on the communist country, still 99 years, so we're getting closer. The question is, sounds like a hardship case for board projects. Why the hardship case?
Pilot,
Because
I'm sorry, Mr. Vitarik. What kind of case?
hardship.
Hardship.
there,
They need that money. Why can't they go to the bank like we do, people? Why go to the township and try to get finances to put a project, because it's a risky thing to go into. Why is it so risky to build apartments? If it's so
Council
risky-
President, not to interrupt Mr. Vitari, but we're not financing anything. And pilot programs are not hardship cases. They're incentives to bring new businesses and new construction into a community. and to redevelop a community. That's the basic premise of a pilot program, to give a builder incentive.
Pilot, well, again, they generate approximately what actually we're gonna get revenue from either of those properties.
That's an excellent question, Mr. Tarek. So right now, that property pays, we're on E. So that property pays $59,343 a year. By the end of the project, they'll be paying $188,595, 30-year term, $12,558,000. That's a considerable amount of money.
So, okay, that's a property tax, right? It's not a service tax, like the same newspaper is a service.
It's not a service tax.
That's a problem.
It's a pilot program.
How much does it come a unit?
How much a unit, Mr. Semmelweis?
I have no idea.
It's probably $2,100.
Yeah, the ordinance is about finance, Council President.
Okay.
We're voting on, or the board voted on, council voted on, forgive me, a pilot program for this property. That's what's in front of us. Finance.
Okay, and another thing. This whole existing property now, which is Regal Master, the restaurant and other things, how many full-time employees do they have?
Mr. Vitarak, I don't know what that means, how many full-time employees Vito Mazza has.
The mayor put over here, they're going to afford full-time employees. They probably get 10 times money. How are we making headways on the subject of this, that we build something, that we need more apartments? We don't need any more apartments. You know that, we know it, because other towns do it. We know what other towns did in Norway. We know that cities did it 50, 40 years ago. What happened? Slums. That's what's going to happen. You talk about projects.
Mr. Vitarak, can you speak on the subject, please?
Again, we don't need no more apartments, but we need some new politicians. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Broderick, you go back to D, please.
Ordinance D. Acquisition by purchase as designated Block 563.052, Lot 3, also known as Port Reading Avenue in the Port Reading section. Can I have a motion that the ordinance be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be opened?
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is now open. No comments from the public. Have I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is now closed and the ordinance is adopted and will be submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law. First reading ordinance for consent vote. Ordinance G through O. Can I have a motion that the ordinance be passed on first reading, published in the Home News Tribune on April the 23rd, with a notice of public hearing to be held on May the 4th at 6 p.m.
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. On the first reading ordinance on
Thank you.
Yeah. First reading ordinance G through O. Can I seek a motion?
Motion.
Second. Any comments from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. There will be a correction on the first reading ordinance for J. There was a typing error. That'll be corrected tomorrow. Resolutions and consent. Resolutions 1 through 23. Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions?
Motion.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any comments from the council?
Ms. Broderick, please let the record show me abstaining on resolution number 19. And I just want to thank the mayor and the administration for resolution number 11. Just out there meeting with several residents of that section of Port Reading Avenue. It's pretty beat up. It's a county road, so we've had a lot of luck going for the grant. So knock on wood, getting approved, but thank you for the proactive approach. That's it. Thank you, Ms. Broderick.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go into our public portion of the meeting. You have a 5-minute time limit. And if you're recording, please stand behind the blue line over there.
Ken Gardner, 101 Scudder Avenue, Woodbridge. Mr. President, today I filed a complaint with the Attorney General's office asking them to review whether or not Mayor McCormick has committed official misconduct in office. The reason I did that was I came to a planning board meeting in response to neighbors' concerns to Woodbridge and Seawarden about the 1,000+ apartment units that are being built in downtown. I sat in this very chamber at the planning board meeting in the front row. Councilwoman Drum, the council representative on the planning board since 2016, was on the dais right across from me, and also in the room was the mayor's chief of staff, Carol Ehrlich. I got up, I testified, and when I sat back in my seat, just only for a minute, I got a text from the mayor threatening my state job because I opposed his program. Now, I mean, it was right in this building. I didn't even have a chance to move, so somebody obviously notified him that was here. Number two, at a later date, we had an event at the Woodbridge Firehouse where the mayor attended. And just days before this event, I had received an award for being a 30-year member in the volunteer fire company in that very firehouse that the mayor was visiting. When the mayor came in, I very nicely, just as I'm talking to you now, asked him about the Hess property development, stated that I didn't think it was a good idea to be building at least 450 apartments plus whatever else you're adding to that. And I asked who was pushing the project because it seemed that everybody I spoke to was against it. Now, maybe there's a couple of people I've heard in favor, but by far, majority against it. The mayor gave me a couple sentences on the project, and then again, not once, not twice, but 3 times after that, again brought up my state job, which was threatening to me, and was saying, he's not supportive of it. This is extremely inappropriate, and that's why I've asked the Attorney General to review the concern. The mayor then dismissed me in my own firehouse. And when I said, Mayor, I'm a member here, his response was, I am the mayor, everything belongs to me. And I said, you own the firehouse? And he said, everything is mine. Mr. President, the mayor is out of control on his development issues and his behavior, and I think that it's time for the council to serve as the check and balance and investigate this subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Woodbridge, Woodbridge Township. This garden just answer my question that we are catching up with the other towns that we have for 10 years, or should have 10 years ago. We all know what's going to happen. We know what the other towns before 10, 20, like I said before, but again, why go after something that's plentiful? Where are those people going to come from? We know where they're going to come from. Probably some are people from the southern border, some are going to come from New York, because New York is selling their properties to the private owners that we don't buy publicly, and it's much cheaper here than it is. So that people that are building those things can know they're going to be rented. But what's going to be a burden to the rest of the community? You talk to the people, your council people of this community. Talk to your people, see what they're going to tell you, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. Every day they will hear the good words about what's going to happen. Only thing tonight what I heard was positive. Buy a parking lot for the arts center. That's what we should do. I want to practice 100 counties, other counties. People buy land, not to develop, not to build something that's plentiful. It's lots out there. Why do we have to do what we're doing? Because what's the future of the town? You're using a property, good property, just to put one apartments. Who's going to live across the street and you can fit on the top of the car to the fourth floor of the apartments? This is not good living. This is not a good town, best town around. Yes, best town around, because around us. And again, it's nothing new that they invented something. This story is absolutely right. Saddam is building 1,600, 2,000 units right after another small town. All those towns are pretty. And whoever told me this more than 10 years ago, what's going to happen in this town, all around, was Senator Joe Vitale in his office. That's what's going to happen. Wherever you got a train station, that's going to say the city people are moving out, they come to suburbs, it's cheaper, it's a heaven for them. I agree with you. But why choke up their town? Why do we put all these buildings? We don't have the right roads. We talk about moving this statue over here. Because put a traffic light on the floor, not. People worry about the residents live for years and years. It's not the same town, not the same school, not the same police department, not everything the same. What's the rush? We destroy a beautiful town. And you'll see. It's not just me. Talk to the people if you can. See what they're going to tell you off the record. And people are afraid of what Mr. Gardner said. I know what Mayor is taking, but more than one person tell you, I. This is not communism. It's not I, it's us. So don't do what you're doing, because again, we don't have much to go. I remember talking to Jimmy Greeley that time. So we got 15%, 85% of the towns developed. We only got 15% left. And boy, are we screwing it up. You should be building up warehouses. You should be building this and that, taking things down. Just to look at very nice. For how long? Don't have the right plans to just develop it. You can't make no more land. And we are just using it up. And again, before taking the property eminent domain, for what? Because people take a lot of money. That's not supposed to be. Again, to building before a brownfields, I could see give a tax exempt to the people living in a brownfield. But property in Main Street is not brownfields. This is to make money, it's prime property. And you want to help people develop it, they don't need help to develop property. They will develop if you got a good time. The problem is you don't have it. People are not safe. People don't feel safe. People fighting each other. But they see justice not being done. They are taking more time, I don't want to understand to move. But again, you're supposed to be in charge. Not a mayor, he's a mayor. But you people making the law. Either at large or the board mayors. That's the people. You know what's right, you know what's wrong. But just don't do it, don't go on a dead street because it will crash. Thank you.
Schroeder. Mr. Dombrowski, just hold up 1 second, please. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, James Dombrowski, Woodbridge Township. At our last meeting, Councilwoman Debbie Meehan singled me out at the end of her agenda, scolding. And lastly, Mr. Distelkamp, I hate when you say that, and I've about had it. Distelkamp, I asked? That's not my name. Kason Little was also offended by Debbie's attack. Dombrowski corrected her, and then continued, I hate when you say that, that's not how you address the public. Excuse me, both Debbie and Council President Brian Small shouted. I'm going to talk now. You had your chance to talk. You always call me racist, Debbie chided. Apologize to Reverend Donna, then I responded. Apologize for what you did to her. Council President Small banged his gavel and ordered, Officer, remove him, please. I'll remove myself, I answered. But Debbie continued to scold me on my way out. Anytime you can come out with me in the community, and I will show you the things I do for this community. I never ask who they are, I just help them. It's ironic Debbie insultingly called me by the name of her friend and fellow Trump supporter, James Distelkamp, the Woodbridge PBA president, as he has made equally ridiculous claims of being not racist, despite also demonstrating the exact opposite. When my wife was outrageously interrupted and shouted down by Woodbridge cops at his very microphone, she approached Distelkamp after the meeting and tried to start a conversation about the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Distelkamp was clearly not interested, smugly dismissing her genuine offer to help with the same tone-deaf comment he had recently posted on his Facebook page. We don't ask who is calling 911. We don't ask are they male or female, white or black, rich or poor. We just go. Taken aback, my wife tried to explain to him how police still bring their bias with them and may treat people differently based on these biases. She then tried to offer him her Rutgers business card to further discuss the matter, but Distelkamp told her not to worry about it. Again, sadly not surprising from a guy who publicly stated on social media, and I quote, the next time a conservative thinks he or she should have a conversation with a liberal Democrat, just punch yourself in the face or slam your fingers in a drawer. It's actually less painful and will save you time. And as I mentioned last meeting, Distelkamp is also the same guy whom on January 6th, after the horrifying white supremacist insurrection at our nation's capital, had this to say on Facebook. Police job just got harder again. Thanks, liberal Democrats. Woodbridge Board of Education member Daniel Harris, who also serves as legislative director to our Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, replied to Distelkamp, I'm lost. I'm not being sarcastic. Please explain how today's events contribute to that. Distelkamp's response to him, if you have to ask, you are lost. With a PBA president like this, it's not shocking that the Woodbridge Police Department has now brought yet another civil rights lawsuit against our township, the most recent of which Distelkamp is implicated in for brutalizing a young black man. And for Councilwoman Debbie Meehan to be more upset about being called racist than she is about actual racism is typical racist behavior. I still can't believe that Debbie refuses to apologize for the wildly racist way she treated our local NAACP president, Reverend Donna Stewart, and assistant treasurer, Reverend Mary Giles, after they had the courage to speak up about the awful experiences with racism in Woodbridge. Despite never mentioning her name, Councilwoman Meehan had the audacity to single them out, scolding, I take great offense, and I'm saying this with all due respect to you, that there's nobody on this council that is prejudiced. Nobody looks at you because you're different. One of my best friends over there is Phil Hall. I look at him because he's Afro-American. I look at him because he's my friend. And I never look at him because he's Afro-American. I look at him because he's my friend. And every single person on this council feels the same way. So for me, that really offends me, and I'm sure it offends my councilmates. So with all due respect, you're incorrect about that statement you made. Wow. I hit dog will holler, as the saying goes. I guess because I have a black wife and son, that magically eliminates all of my racist blind spots too, according to Debbie's, but I have a black friend defense. You see, the things Councilwoman Meehan does for this community are the things that no one's ever going to get upset about. Food drives and cancer walks are great, but try taking a stand against racism and watch what happens. Racists get upset. And it's for this exact reason why our cowardly mayor won't take a stand, because he said he doesn't want to piss off half the town as he has to get elected. And now he wants to roll out some resolution that will do the exact opposite of what the Woodbridge Youth for Liberation and Equity have been advocating for, while clearly demanded that Woodbridge not increase the size of its already larger than average police department, and that Woodbridge not increase its already bloated police budget. Throwing a few more black officers into a toxic anti-black police culture as an excuse to hire even more cops and allocate even more of our budget to police is the complete opposite of what this racial justice movement is all about. But then again, McCormick callously refuses to affirm that Black Lives Matter, even going so far as to call our nation's second civil rights movement awful. No, refusing to get on the right side of history and commit to anti-racism is what's truly awful. And if you're serious about making that vital commitment, you'll work with the young community leaders you've credited with initiating the push for change in Woodbridge, not against them. Justice for Niger Parks, justice for Jeremiah Daniels Porter, Black Lives Matter. No response from council?
Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski.
May we have a motion to close the public hearing? Public hearing is now closed and will continue to the work session. Oh, sorry.
Good morning. Don Green, Minnesota, New Jersey. The previous speaker, Mr. Dombrowski, had talked about a resolution that the mayor had discussed during the last Human Rights Commission meeting and said it would be voted, I guess, at the city council meeting when the resolution was in order. Just given the mayor's position as it pertains to diversity for the police force here in Woodbridge. Just had two questions. I'm not sure if this is the forum to ask it because I don't have any response back. Just want to get the council members' perspective on the resolution and whether they support or not support the measure. And the underpinning of the question has to do with another question, which is, does anyone believe that there's a diversity, a need for diversity, or more diversity in our police department?
To the first question, sir, the final resolution has not been drafted and presented to the council. How the council is going to vote on it, that's up to each and every individual member.
You don't have any leading thoughts about that? Or that's something that's still being kind of going as...
I'm not going to ask the council to reveal how they're thinking or how they're planning on voting on a resolution that wasn't even finalized and presented to us.
And then the second question about the thought about diversity, is it warranted? No response to that.
I'll respond to that personally. There's always room for diversity. Yes, there is.
All right, and this resolution is a means to that end. Would you agree with that as well?
I would.
Thank you.
Just hold on one second here.
You need a stopwatch.
Yeah.
That's easier on the phone.
What kind of timer is that?
Huh?
What kind of timer is that?
It's not the timer.
You know,
With the timer.
whenever you're ready.
Victoria Bridge in reference to the, I guess it's all kind of one issue that's being discussed by all of us individually. I agree with the members of the town that I would not vote.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Is that yours?
That's my...
Yes.
Okay,
Your
sorry.
time isn't up yet.
We all have the same alarm. I agree with some of the other people, though I deeply believe for different reasons, that I also would not like an expansion of apartment buildings in this town. Just personally from increasing the population sizes is something that I think that is desperately needed for this town. I don't have a problem with whatever person or wherever they come from coming to the town. I just think that a massive influx of all these apartment buildings may not be necessary or helpful for changing the landscape of the town. The increased population has often been cited as a reason why the police department needs to be expanded. We need more police, 5 more police this year, 5 more police the next year. I've been told that that was part of the reason, the expanding population of, we want these apartment buildings, the population is going to continue growing at an exponential rate, therefore we need more police. That's the answer that was given to me. So for multiple reasons, I do not want any more apartment buildings in the town. I don't think that in the ways that Jimmy was also explaining, probably more eloquently than I can right now, I don't think that feeding more people into an unjust system is the way to correct it. But if you're gonna hire them anyway, even though we've been begging you not to, I would appreciate consideration given to this alternate route plan. I think that it's kind of bittersweet. Any step towards diversity should be welcomed, and the fact that some members of the council, before even seeing a resolution, have already made up their mind. Spiller, I am speaking. Hello. Before even making fully seeing the resolution, have made an opinion of, please come message me and tell me. You don't have to look for my number. Here it is. I see it. Before having the resolution in front of you, we were told by the PBA to have an opinion on a resolution that we had no information about. So I think that those of you sitting up there, though I don't want you to divulge your votes before that time comes, you have an opinion on it, and I'm asking you to consider what your disposition might be and the root reasons as to why you may vote or not vote in favor of this. Again, I'm saying I technically do support it because I would like greater diversity in the police force, though I don't think exaggerating an already robust police force is necessarily the right way to move forward with making this town more equitable for the people that are supposed to be protected by the police. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing and continue with the work session.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. We'll go into the agenda portions of the meeting. Number 3 on my agenda, Port Reading Fire District Number 2 took delivery of a new engine, and we'll be planning a some kind of wet down, hopefully. Looking at June. I'll have more by the next meeting. It's also going to go by where we're at with social distancing. Our summer concerts, number 16. Again, please look at our website. We have incredible shows. They run Sunday through Thursday. They kick off on June 21st. And it's a very nice time. It's good to see the residents out enjoying themselves. On an announcement, Woodbridge PBA Street Hockey League has sign-ups at Boynton Park in Port Reading. Wednesday the 21st from 6 to 8, Friday the 23rd from 6 to 8, Saturday the 24th, 10 to 12, and Tuesday the 27th from 6 to 8. Again, Boynton Park Street Hockey Courts in Port Reading. Youth hockey ages 4 to 17. I do have a report from Councilman Ficara in regards to a COVID update. As of 4/19, 33 clinics were held. Doses administered was 5,482. First dosage are 3,376. Second doses are 2,106. Total number of cases at St. Joe's is 77. Positive cases at state facilities, 837. Positive cases in the community was 10,994 for a total of 11,908. Again, we can't thank the health department enough for the job they've been doing during this whole COVID thing. To Director Green and his staff, kudos to you. Please bless our first responders, our police, fire, EMS, all our essential workers, and God bless America. Vice President Bauer.
Thank you, Council President. My agenda is in order, and I have no announcements to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman De Jesus.
Thank you, Council President. I just have one announcement. Item number 10, the Woodbridge Public Library is pleased to announce the launch of Brain Fuse Help Now, on demand, anytime, anywhere, e-learning for all ages and learning levels. Virtual tutors are available from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. daily. Visit the woodbridgelibrary.org for more information. The Main, Fort, Henry Inman, and Island branch libraries are open for in-person visits. Check the library or call the library website or call at 732-634-4450 for hours and directions to the branches. That is all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Spiller.
Thank you, Council President Small. Item number 5, the Abbott Middle School's Community Service Club is presently holding a food drive for our township food banks. There's a bin outside the main entrance, so there's no physical interaction. The bins are placed outside at the start of the school and taken in at the end of the day. School hours are 7:45 to 2:30. Feel free to stop by and drop off some non-perishable items. While on the subject of Abbott Middle School, very pleased to announce that they have scheduled their National Junior Honor Society Assembly for May 4th with a ceremony to be held outdoors in front of the school. So thankfully, the kiddies are getting some of their stuff, the students. Item number 9, the Abbott LBFW Post 7164 is having a fish fry fundraiser this Friday, April 23rd from 6 to 9 p.m. You can take out or dine in. For more information, please call the Post at 732-687-5369. Item number 12, New School 4 and 5. I'm pleased to announce that demolition has started this week on the old Premier Die-Cast building, and we continue to move forward. Looking forward to building the new School 4 and 5. That's all the agenda. That's all for my agenda this evening, Council President. Just an announcement, Councilman Anderson, if you want to add this to your list of township employment opportunities, our friend Carmine and their boys will be opening Jersey Boys Pizza located at 147 Avenel Street. That's the former Margie's restaurant. They are hiring all positions. For more information, please call 908-380-7723.
Thank you, Councilman.
If you need that, I'll text you or email. I realized that right at the start of the meeting. Thank you to all our emergency responders, fire, EMS, our Woodbridge Police Department, CERT, and all of our public works employees. Be safe, be smart. God bless America. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Meehan.
Thank you. I'm going to go down to number 12 on my agenda is addiction services. According to Middlesex County Specialized Case Management and Outreach Services, they've reached out to every person whom a referral for mental health was made. Police are sending Dr. Nolan, our Woodbridge Township specialist, contact information for all behavioral health calls, and we in turn are sending them contact information to outreach services. They report that though not everyone accepts help, some have, and every time they speak with the resident, outreach services gives them a list of resources and a contact in a case that they do so that they can seek help. The assistance includes behavioral health treatment at various levels, housing, assisting with social programs such as food stamps, referral to medical care, and etc. So even though not everyone accepts the help, the connection is made and people have a resource about what they didn't know before. Blue Care continues to serve the county via outreach calls to overdose victims. Some of these occur at hospitals, some at victims' homes, and multiple people are referred to treatment each week. Woodbridge has resumed municipal drug court, and with marijuana cases out of the picture, our coaches are seeing people charged with possession of paraphernalias. These tend to be people suffering from opioid disorders, and most are receptive for help, especially when a judge expresses concern and a willingness to delay or downgrade penalties for people who seek help and treatment. This is a program that truly saves lives by allowing us to see people who have not overdosed but have a serious illness. Addiction Services is currently organizing a fundraiser which will be held on May 22nd. They don't have everything in place yet, but it will be on the township website when it is all finalized. This will raise money for much needed funds for our sober living program, which covers the first month rent and sober living for people just discharged from inpatient treatment substances. If you would like any more information about any of these programs, you can reach out to Dr. Bonnie Nolan at 732-855-2800, extension 5008. There's always help available if you or your loved one is going through addiction. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Council President. My agenda is pretty much in order. I do have an announcement. I also want to make mention that Woodbridge High School presents their 25th annual, they'll be presenting their annual musical. It's called the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. and that will be between April 22nd and April 24th, Thursday through Saturday at 7 p.m., and also on Sunday, April 25th at 2 p.m., where it'll be at Woodbridge High School, and there's a suggested donation of $10, and you can call 602-8600 or 732-602-8600 for more information on that event. It's always entertaining. I do want to mention that my committee, the WONAC, Woodbridge Organization of Neighbors Advocating Change, right now is in a planning for a Juneteenth event, which would be on June 19th of this year on a Saturday. We're excited about it. We're hoping to get as many people as we can from our community to come out and understand what Juneteenth is all about, and have the entire community celebrate it together. Public service announcement, I know it was mentioned earlier, but I plan on going and buying my boys some new bicycles in a few weeks. They're hot commodities. I went to the main street. Right now, you can't get a bicycle anywhere. But as parents are out there with their bicycles, with their young teenagers with their bicycles, and some of these kids are very skilled with the wheelies and so forth, I've seen personally, I've experienced it personally, some dangerous events that are initiated by the teenagers. I've been over by Woodbridge High School where teenagers are literally riding their wheelies at oncoming cars. And then at the very last second, they move out of the way. And I've experienced that. I've experienced on Inman Avenue, a young man riding alongside me in a wheelie the entire time. And as a parent, my heart is in my stomach that this kid doesn't lose his balance and get hurt. I mean, it's great talent that these young people have, but I'm asking parents to encourage their young people to be more responsible in their community, and not antagonize motorists, because as the weather gets better and as these bikes, I went to Main Street where they sell the bikes. I don't know what the name of the place is, the auto parts place. He told me, he said, I'll have 100 in, and yes, and they'll be gone. Extreme bikes, so they'll be gone within a few days. So it just tells me that there's going to be more and more bicycles out on the road. I was on the phone with a very good friend of mine from the lieutenant from Perth Amboy Police Department. Unfortunately, it was an incident that happened that only part of the public saw. All right, they only saw a 6-minute segment of a 17-minute video, and these were teenagers that were antagonizing people with their vehicles in traffic. When the police reacted to it, of course, only the 6-minute video was shown. He's a very good friend of mine. He endured a very tough time today on the news media and so forth and social media. When I saw the video, the entire video, police did the right thing. They did the right thing. So I know there are neighbors. I want to, just give a shout out to those guys, and just tell them to keep their heads up. That said, I would like to make a statement about this diversity issue, as Mr. Green had brought up. So much has been said about the proposed resolution from the Senate Bill 3220 that allows civil service municipalities to allow but not require an appointing authority to hire a candidate based on the completion of a course that teaches and tests an array of qualities and skills necessary to become a successful law enforcement officer. This can serve as a particularly useful tool for localities seeking to expand the diversity of their police forces in instances where the tests may have limited that option. Recently, the PBA president urged residents to contact their council people to ask to vote against the monumental bill that takes effect in August of 2021. I was one of those who received a number of emails and phone calls from residents, and therefore this is why I'm responding to this. The reason for the plea from the PBA president was to preserve the list for veterans that the Woodbridge Township has always remained committed to. Last week, Mayor McCormick released a video stating that the intended use for this resolution, if passed, will not impact one veteran ever. There are many features of civil service that I do appreciate, and that many of my minority friends that are in law enforcement pointed out to me. And one was a guarantee that they would receive an interview once your number on the list was called. However, because of a multiplicity of factors, including the inability of some candidates to afford the privately run preparatory courses that give certain candidates an edge, that these tests can sometimes yield eligibility lists that disproportionately reflect non-minority candidates at the top of the list. Unfortunately, that is the case here in Woodbridge. While our numbers with Hispanics on the police department accurately reflect the township's population, the representation of Asian Americans are dismal, with Asians representing 22% of the population, but only 3% in our police force, and African Americans 10% of the population and only 2% on the police department. We have to do better. As many of you know, I was a neighbor to my childhood hero, Alvin Williams, who happened to be an African American, who died in the line of duty on September 6, 1979. It wasn't until 20 years later, in 1999, that Woodbridge Township hired another African American police officer. Why does Woodbridge Police Department struggle in this area? Some have suggested that it's cultural. I don't believe that to be true, as I know at least a dozen Woodbridge Township homegrown young men and women that are minorities, that are police officers in other towns. Some say that the announcement of the test is not publicized well enough. I believe that needs to be looked into more closely. My sons were part of the last Junior Police Academy in 2019, and I saw many minorities in that academy. Perhaps we can look closely at the relationship with those students who graduate from the Junior Police Academy. While much opinion has been offered by the alternate route, I have seen firsthand what an alternate route is capable of. I attended Trenton State College, and when I first attended there, I learned what EOF stood for. The Educational Opportunity Fund was a program designed for students with lower economic standards that did not fit the mold of general admission student. Usually they did not meet the average SAT score or class rank to be admitted, but showed promise in other areas. The students were required to attend a summer program and were given free on-campus tutoring. I was jealous of that, but I had many friends in the program and I learned of their backgrounds, but more importantly, I saw their desire. These students were often known as chance students that the college viewed as their social responsibility. I can recall one student a few years behind me that I befriended because he was a local boy from Chrome section of Carteret. He was majoring in communications and getting into school and through the summer program was a major hurdle. But having money and fitting in was also a major struggle because his family was very poor. My friend eventually graduated with a degree in communications, but some career decisions ultimately led him to make a decision to go into teaching through what is known as the alternate route. He taught in East Orange for a few years and pursued his master's degree in education before taking a position as a teacher in his hometown of Carteret. Eventually, he interviewed to become the principal of Carteret High School. After several successful years as the principal, he interviewed and became the superintendent of Asbury Park School System. After increasing the graduation rate, school attendance, and lowering the dropout rate and bringing in a school breakfast program, he was noticed by Governor Phil Murphy and was appointed and became the first confirmed African American commissioner for the Department of Education. Then in 2 short years, New Jersey schools were ranked #1 in the nation by Education Weekly magazine. Now my friend Dr. Lamont Repollet is the president of Kane University. This is just one example that the alternate route in any line of work can be successful if it is successfully launched and owned by the institution from which it came. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Broderick, anything?
No, my agenda's in order, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simaluka?
Thank you, Council President. Under Planning and Development, I have a refund under current account. For Public Works, I have a co-op purchase for a Toro Groundsmaster 7210. And as an add-on, I have a refund for overpayment of sewer taxes. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Law?
Nothing, Council
Thank you.
President.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.